Welcome to Bottle Rocket with Elena Sucheva, your top hockey podcast. Welcome back to Bottle Rocket. I'm Elena, joined as always by Maven Teabag. Today we're excited to welcome back Bobby Holik, two-time Stanley Cup champion, key part of Devils dynasty, and one of the most complete forwards of his generation.
Thanks for having me. I was looking forward to this. I hope you all well. Jerry, great job on the book before we get into other stuff, but thank you for sending it out.
Mm. Oh, thanks, Bobby. I appreciate all the kind words.
Good to see you, pal.
Yeah, you too, Stan. How are you?
I'm very well. As my father used to say, when somebody would say, Ben, how are you feeling? He'd say, terrible, thank God.
Yeah. You know what? A similar thing happened with Peter Sikora, Patrick Elias, Peter Sikora. This is long when they were young players when they came to New Jersey, and Siki was like man, he was 20, 21, and he's like, yeah, man, I feel terrible. This hurts and that hurts. I said, well, at least you did something. That means you did something. If nothing hurts, that means you didn't do enough. So I hear you, Stan. I hear you. Oh, I hear your dad.
Your former teammate, Johnny McLean, was honored the other day, what they called the Circle of Heroes in New Jersey. What do you remember about Johnny Mac?
You know what? Unfortunately, the first thing I remember meeting him when he had that major ACL reconstruction. That's the first time I ever met him. He was in the process of coming back. So, but after that, when he came back, he was so. Um, I mean, he's the old-time devil because he's someone was there during their first success, and he was a great leader, and he was part of the team that I kind of came into, and he was the veteran and led. And for somebody who was a sort of goal scorer or offensive player, he was pretty dedicated. And with Jacques Lemaire coming in, he dedicated himself to also the team defense and help us become the team we were in those mid '90s.
I want to tell a quick Johnny Mac story. This has to do with Lou Lamoriello also. Lou had a reputation of frightening people. Sometimes they thought he would yell when he got angry. Instead of yelling, what Lou would do would glare. He would glare. And the team was in Vancouver. Johnny Mac was near moving toward the twilight of his career. And by accident, we wound up in the sauna together at the hotel, and we're schmoozing, and he says to me, I want you to do me a favor. I said, what is it? He says, they got me on the third line, and I want to get back on the first line, see what you can do about it. So I filed it away, and about 3 weeks later, I had my annual winter dinner with Lou. And Lou always asked me, what should I do to make the team better? So remembering what Johnny Mac said, I said, Lou, put Johnny Mac from the third line up to the top line. And I got the glare.
Yeah, well, you know what? If it ended up being a good move by you and Johnny Mac, I would have bought you a bunch of dinners for that. If that's all it took, just to tell Lou. But I guess it didn't work. No, it didn't.
You were the only guy who I saw, and maybe you can tell us how you felt about it. Lou never let the media travel on the flights with the team, and he changed that rule once right before Christmas. I forget where we were, but we going somewhere. And the strict rule was that the writers, the media, has to be separated from the players. And Mark Everson, who was, went against the grain, he wound up, I guess, playing chess with you, which meant that he went to you or you went to him. And I don't know, I never heard any repercussions.
No, I remember the trip. You guys, we were somewhere, could have been before Christmas or something, and there was a storm coming in, and Lou, with his kind heart, offered you guys a ride back on our plane. Only one time, one and only,
That's
ever. Okay, he was in professional hockey for whatever 50 something years, if not
Yeah.
longer. One time, so you feel special about it, and you and Mark and everybody else. So yeah, I remember that trip, and it was just before Christmas, and he didn't want you to be stranded. So it was very nice of him. I still stay in touch with Mark. He's retired, and we had some good times. We also one time we went out to dinner in Boston, which was probably sort of uh, ban, players and media. But I didn't look at him on the off day. I didn't look at him as a media. I look at him as a friend. And we took a cab to dinner, and the same cab came. We got him back, and he gave us a nighttime tour of historic Boston. He said, "Hey, for X amount of dollars, whatever it was," he said, with the thick accent, Boston accent, he said, "I can give you a ride." And we drove by all the historical sites after dinner. So I remember a lot of things away from the ice, though, because you come, as I said, greatest thing about hockey is two things. It's humbling. The game is humbling, no matter who you are, and you come across great people. It, the culture of the game is something different than most other games.
I always say hockey people are the best people. Bobby, speaking of chess, did you play with any other NHLers, and who is the best at chess?
No, we didn't play. We didn't play with any other players. I played growing up with my grandfather, with my father. We found a way to entertain ourselves. So it was a lot of chess growing up, and Eastern Europe is kind of they like chess. We like chess, and but no players. I want to actually. I've been thinking about getting back to it. I'm so busy, but I would love to get back to playing chess again. And I have some kids, really young boys, young men who want to play. So I'm gonna be really rusty, but I think chess is a great game. Some people might get offended, but I find it more fun than crossword puzzles.
When you were playing with the Devils, how popular were they? Like, were you recognized on the street when you were out and about?
Only some places, and that was a great thing about playing for the Devils. You're playing for the top franchise in the league or top three franchises in the league, yet you can have a life. You can live sort of anonymous or quiet life in the North Jersey suburbs. But when you go to the rink or when you travel, when you play other teams, you are playing for a top franchise in the league, and that's very hard to kind of find. Toronto is Toronto, Rangers is Rangers, or Red Wings, or those are top franchises. Or I sorry, take Toronto out of the equation. But at the time, it was Detroit, and Colorado, and we did have a great off ice life or family life because we didn't have to deal with the same kind of attention that you get, good or bad, in Toronto or Ottawa, Montreal, and those or Vancouver.
You
You know,
you me- you mentioned somebody who is a very good friend of mine, and that's Mark Everson. And I bring this up now because this was an incident which you were only tangentially involved. It was the playoff in Ottawa. That's number one. Number two, you had food poisoning and you weren't at the morning skate and you didn't play, which was pivotal, very, very pivotal, because if Ottawa won that game, you guys were out, which is what did happen. Now, I wonder how much you remember about that. But before I get to your answer, Mark Everson was then with the Post, and the late Larry Brooks was with the Post. Now, as we all know from the media and friends, that Larry died a few months ago. Very sad situation. And I was friendly with Larry's son, Jordan, who was a Devil fan. He was a Devil fan because Larry worked for the Devils originally. And Jordan and I had so many conversations, about that. What do you remember about Larry as a writer?
So, well, let's we can discuss the my food poisoning. I remember that extremely well because that's the most sick I've ever been in my life, and I still feel bad about not being able to play, but I was basically surviving that 24 hours. It was horrible. I don't know if people have had food poisoning, but that was the worst thing I've ever had by far. So put that aside, but because Larry Brooks deserved his own segment, and we can talk a few minutes about Larry Brooks and his what he brought to the game. And people, as a player, myself, I enjoy Larry because he was as honest as one can be, and it doesn't always make you look good. But you know what? You have to respect. He has a job to do. I have a job to do. So when I did my job the way I was supposed to, or according to what my role was, he said, whatever, I deserve a praise or not, or whatever, star of the game. And if I didn't, he let me know that too. And I appreciated that because and I wasn't gonna get upset. I didn't like it, but I still you can self-reflect and say, hey, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe. And I think we're missing that in today's game. Everybody, all the media is kind of just following the path. And if you, God forbid, I looked at the standings before um, before the podcast, and there's a lot of bad teams out there or underperforming. You never hear it because on every website, every news site, everybody's doing great. Larry wasn't like that. He held the feet to the fire to either players or teams or GMs, and I love that about him. And again, there was many days where I didn't like what he had to say, but I had to respect that. And then when I reflected, most of the time he was correct. So to me, Larry Brooks was a legend. He was a sort of a colleague because we worked in the same business. He covered the game, I played the game, so it's all one. And again, a lot of people didn't have a great relationship with him because they only thought about when he's critical or when he's truly writing what he should be writing. And I think as the decades go by or years will go by, we will realize that he was the last of this kind where he wrote about the game, good or bad. Even about the franchises, teams don't draw many people. Why? Bad mark, whatever it was. And I miss it in the game because if you don't know, for example, New Jersey Devils, I believe they don't know what they don't know. They can't get better. So Larry, thank you for everything you've done for the game. He was around the game a lot longer than I have been. Through you, Stan, I communicated with his son, so he's a legend. And one last thing about Larry Brooks, he helped me so much in one of the last interactions we had. That was shortly a few months after the October 7th attack on Hamas attack on Israel, where about 4 months later they banned Israeli hockey team out of the IIHF tournaments in the sake of security. So he gave me the platform immediately when I wanted to criticize the International Ice Hockey Federation, and I believe through him and through his platform, we got the International Ice Hockey Federation to reverse the decision, and we got the kids from Israel go to these tournaments and do what kids want to do. They want to play hockey. So Larry Brooks is a legend. I love being around him. It wasn't always great, but honesty is in short supply today. Honesty, integrity, and depth. He had the knowledge of the game, as you know, Stan, and is all appreciated. Even sometimes it was not always fun for me to hear it.
I want to tell you something that you may not know, because there was a lot of tension. I experienced the tension. I want to see the team win. I see you guys are one more loss and you're out of there. So in that morning practice, we found out that you were sick. You were badly sick. As we know. And the practice is over, and at the Ottawa rink, the corridor going from the rink to the dressing room was sort of a narrow corridor. Now, you tell me if you heard about what happened, because I never seen anything really like that. Mark Everson, and Larry were together, and they got into a heated argument with Jacques Lemaire. I don't know what it was about, but I was stunned to the core as to how intense this was. Back and forth yelling, and in a very tight corridor, so there wasn't any room to easily exit. Do you know what they were arguing about?
I don't know, but I remember that, and it may have happened once in that severity of a heated argument. I'm sure they disagreed many times, just like Larry whether his coaches or players disagree with him many times. But Mark and Larry were doing their job. Okay, so was Jacques and Lou, and everybody had their way of doing it, and sometimes those worlds collided. And I don't know, maybe because I was always into media, not only sports media, just in general. I love journalism, I love reporting, I love, books and history and everything. So maybe I understood better that they have a job to do, or you have to respect that. And they also have to respect when I say, today I don't want to talk about this. For whatever reason, it would hurt the team, or it's not related to the game, blah blah. So as I said, um, it was not always pretty or great, but there was myself, Larry, Mark, we had a mutual respect. And I remember the event or that time where they got into a heated argument. I think it was just Mark and Larry, their way of reporting or being journalists collided with the way Lou and Jacques wanted to run their own PR department or PR system. So it happened. And again, it's something to remember, and we're still talking about it. This is almost 30 years later. So, and we all went on, and games went on, and championships were won, and championships were lost. But that's life. But yes, I remember that, Stan. That's a good call.
What was the argument about?
We don't know. I think more than anything, it was the approach where this was in the playoffs. I think we were not doing well. It was in 1998, I believe, and this is the third year after the cup, and we haven't gone really far in the playoffs. And I'm sure Larry and Mark were well. First, Larry was kind of the spear of the tip of the spear of this reporter spear, and Mark was right behind him to encourage him or supporting him. So it was a very tense situation for Lou and Jacques, and we just were not doing well. And so they maybe challenged him more than Jacques wanted to be challenged. So as I said, the two different ways of doing things collided, and it happens. I wish it happened more often. This way, people. That means Jacques was passionate about his coaching, and Larry and Mark were passionate about reporting properly. Larry Jacques wanted to coach the best he could, and those guys wanted to report. And there's that kind of passion is missing at times or often. And again, it's not always pretty, it's not always great, but when people are passionately engaged, I love that. Hockey is all about passion.
Bobby, what made coaches trust you in big moments?
Oh, I had to earn it. It wasn't like, hey, let's throw the number 16 out there. It took me years. It took me years. I played professionally for 3 years before I came to North America to play in the NHL. Then, what it was a few years before Jacques Lemaire, the first player who saw that I was a center. I had a potential to be two-way center. This was in my fourth year in the NHL. So 7 years in the pros, I finally Jacques gave me the opportunity, even though I was on the fourth line, that eventually became the best fourth line in hockey, which is a direct quote of Jacques. And sometimes we were the best line on our team. Again, direct quote from Jacques. So it you have to earn it. You have to earn the trust. But at the same time, when I coach youth or when I reflect on the good coaches, bad coaches, when you see players who are earning it and who do everything they can to earn that trust, you have to give it. And they might fail, but if you don't give it to them, you'll discourage them, especially younger players. I don't know what it's like now with younger players get a lot more opportunities than it used to be. But at the time when you were 21, 22, 23, and you weren't after working hard for 2, 3 years, sometimes in the minors, and you didn't earn any trust of the coach, it was very discouraging. So it works both ways. If you want something, you earn it, and when you earn the opportunity and it's not given, then the coaches make a mistake by discouraging you.
What did you eat that gave you poisoning?
You know what? It was one of those loose, team meals night before, and I think it was a shrimp or salmon. Uh, it was in Ottawa. I don't know if it was Morton's or something. And after after the dinner, we Patrick, Elias, and I we went for a walk, and we ended up in Tim Hortons to have a couple fresh donuts. It's 9 o'clock at night. Why not? I know the young professionals today, they're like donuts. Yeah, it's good stuff. By the way, you should try it once in a while. And and so we went and we sat down, we ordered coffee and donuts, and suddenly I knew right away I was not feeling good, but I could never bring myself thinking I'm going to be sick as a dog for the next 24 hours and I won't be able to play. But it kind of didn't feel right almost immediately after dinner. So it was definitely some kind of seafood and, something to remember. It was very unfortunate, very unfortunate. I remembered how I felt not sick, but how I felt that I could not play the game because some darn shrimp or a piece of salmon. So that's that's part of it, I guess.
In Atlanta, you played for Bob Hartley. What kind of relationship did you have with him after he had won a Stanley Cup with Colorado, and you both ended up in Atlanta? How was that relationship?
Okay. It's
I heard he
I
could
was
be. I heard he could be really hard on players. Like,
I have no problem with that. I came to Hartford in 1990. I was 19 years old, and everybody says Rick Lee, the head coach, he's tough on players. I'm like, listen, growing up with my dad, any coach is gonna be a walk in the park. I had no problem with it. Be hard all you want, but be reasonable. And you know, there's a lot of coaches, not a lot, but there's a few coaches. I call them one-time winners, and they win one time, and their way of doing things is so in confirm in their own heads with the championship. Okay, and then they coach for another 15, 10, 15, 20 years. They never come close because the moment you win the first one, you have to get better. You have to learn. You have to learn what you didn't do right. It's because everybody else has been watching you how you got to win the first one, so they are getting better. And a lot of these coaches, the one-time winners, I'm not gonna name. I've thought about it. They win with their style, and no matter what the game, no matter what the team they have, they continue to do it the same way. And and by the time they want to change or adapt to the different game or different team, it's too late. And then they're just the one-time winners are not always. They might win the championship or the cup that time, but the career afterwards is not maybe not as good as it could have been if they were willing to adapt.
We had Chico Resch on yesterday, and Chico vehemently, along with me, after I heard what he vehemently opposes the idea of NHL players in the Olympics for a lot of reasons. One of all, you got this cockamamie schedule this season where you have back-to-back games and all kinds of crazy. How do you feel about that? Do you feel that it should be like we felt 1980 with the Miracle on Ice? 1960 we won we gold with the collegian. So what do you think?
Well, what I think is NHL is only goes to the Olympics when it makes financial sense. Because they're a strict couple because it was not making the scheduling and this and that and the exposure was not worth to them. So they're back because it's going to be much better exposure. So to me, it's not necessarily the Olympic spirit; it's the bottom line. So to me, I either way, and I've been around Olympic winners who said it's nothing like winning the cup because the winning cup is a journey, a long journey. So I'm not gonna watch it anyways. And so to me, it's really not that I don't want, like I'm planning not to. I don't have time for that. Like it's not that important. If it was important enough, you make time. It's not that important. So to me, Olympics or not, yeah, it makes a mess out of the schedule. And but as I said, if it makes financial sense to the NHL, they'll do it. If it doesn't, they won't. So that's a message that I'm getting but I might think wrong. Um, So I'm not necessarily say absolutely not, but at the same time, I'm like, if they want to do it, they're good. If not, they don't. They don't. It doesn't bother me. I'll look forward to that Stanley Cup final, Stanley Cup playoffs a lot more than the Olympics.
You played on teams with very clear identities. How important is identity to winning?
I think it's very important. That's a very good question. Thank you for asking that because we forget. But the problem is, I talked about the one-time winner coaches. They sometimes they bring their own identity with them, and not realizing that the team they were just given the team cannot play that way. You have to come. What I say, you have. What do I know? I've never coached before, other than my stint with Israel, which was amazing with the Israeli teams. But you don't coach the way you want to coach. You coach the team you were given. So the identity, sometimes you as a coach have a certain identity that your teams play a certain way. But when you get hired by a team and you don't have those type of players, you cannot create that identity. You have to adapt. But yet the identity is important because when push comes to shove, players need to know what that team is good at, what we can rely on at the worst of times. Whether it's the forecheck, whether it's the breakouts, whether it's the puck possession, puck protection. You have to develop a certain identity. So in the middle of the season, most of the time it's February, when it's been long season, a lot of games played, but you still have a long way to go. You have to come to the ring and know who you are as a team. We're gonna go out there, and no matter what, we're gonna be good at face-off. We're gonna be good in our own end. And from that, when you have that confidence to fall back on some of these things in the part of the game, other things will come along. But if you don't have one or two things that are, I don't want to say bulletproof, but almost that you rely the most on game in, game out, you're gonna miss it when you need it.
Do you remember your first NHL goal?
Yes, it was ugly. I guess it goes along with the career, doesn't it?
In a good way? Dirty goal or?
Yeah. I, if I remember correctly, I didn't even know I scored it because there was just a big pile of people going in the net with me. So I think it was Buffalo at the Hartford Civic Center at the mall, as they say. And yeah, if I remember correctly, that's how kind of blurry it was.
You
What
remember?
about your
Remember?
last NHL goal? Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that one much better. It was I won the face-off, and Mike Motto was on a point. I won the face-off. It was in Anaheim. He took a slap shot, got deflected, hit me in the forehead, and as it was going up, the goalie was pitching a high puck, and he went down the bottom. And then it was his Mike Motto slap shot. He didn't even scuff my face. It was so it was
Veneer.
I'm gonna leave it at that. We can figure out the rest. But yeah, I remember my first, not as well as the last. But I didn't. My last goal was not with the hockey stick; it was with my face. Again, I guess very well fitting to my career. It was rough all around.
Bobby asked Chico the same question yesterday. When you win the Stanley Cup and that moment finally hits, that oh my God, I did it feeling, what was it like for you?
The first one was kind of it was amazing in a sense that you dream about it since you're a kid. Okay, that was kind of the emotions you had. I was 24 years old at the time, so almost since I was 5 playing competitive hockey, almost 20 years working at it every day, every morning, never give up, never quit. Even when you take a day off as a kid, you're thinking about, or even as a pro, you think about the day after the day off, so you don't go all crazy because you have another day after the day off. So um, it was something kind of a fulfilling your dream. But once you win it once, suddenly the motive changes. It's like, okay, we don't want to be called, flukes. We want to prove them that we are for real. It took us a few years, but we did. And then that second one felt that was kind of answer to that. Like, okay, the 95 wasn't a fluke. These guys are for real. They're good.
Mm.
So I think those are the emotions. The first one is fulfilling your lifelong dream as an athlete, and the second one was kind of proving the world that we are for real.
Do you remember who handed you the Stanley Cup?
I do not. I do not.
How heavy is
I,
it?
I you know what? Maybe I think the chances are really good. It was Randy McKay.
How heavy is it?
It's not heavy at all.
Hmm.
I think they say
Well, for
34
someone
pounds,
who's built like you.
but it's actually it's great. So,
I think it's about 20 kilos, maybe. No, 40 pounds. I don't know.
34 pounds would be like 14 kilos, but time 2.2 times kilo is 2.2 pounds, so you got 13, probably 13 kilos. I know but this is international, so some people are on the math.
Yeah, we try not to do math on this show, Bobby. So
Okay.
let's
We
try to
can
stay
edit it
away
out
from
then.
it.
We just don't want to embarrass ourselves, Jerry. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So when you again, I'm going back to your Atlanta time. I noticed you played with Marian Hossa from Slovakia, and I just wonder if there was any tension between the Czechs and the Slovaks, and then there was some Russians on the team. Was it just a big melting pot, all for one for all, or was there kind of an underlying tension between the
The only tension that's
nationalities?
ever created, sorry to jump in, but I have to get this out first. The only tension that's ever created between Czechs and Slovaks is when Peter Stastny is around. Other than that, other than that, we are great friends. I still have great friends who are from Slovakia, even here in the States. They're wonderful people. There was never any tension, only when Peter's around. And again, I gotta respect Peter because he went through so much and he's done so much for the country. And I actually, Stan, you appreciated Ethan Shiner, who wrote The Freedom to Win, is writing a book about Slovakian hockey after the separation from Czechoslovakia. So he's dealing with it now. And I said, uh, to me, I played for national teams, U20s, national, senior national, men's national teams. We played, as a Czechoslovakia. This was before the Velvet Revolution, and we were just as good friends as whether you're two Czechs, two Moravians, two Slovaks, three Slovaks. It didn't matter, except when Peter was around. And I didn't meet Peter until I came to United States, and then later on in New Jersey. And everybody talks about it because Peter's the most famous representative of Slovakia that most hockey people will come across. So, and he brings certain amount of intensity, not only about the game, but also about the political situation. So Marian Hossa is a great man. He's probably the greatest top three great men in hockey that I came across. The other one is Larry Robinson, and I'm looking for the third one. But Marian Hossa, Larry Robinson I'm not talking about hockey players. They're Hall of Famers because they belong there. They are must Hall of Famers. And you know how I feel about Hall of Fame. It should be more elite of a group than it is. But as great like a Hall of Fame or as men, like great men, Marian Hossa, Larry Robinson, they're yeah, that's my experience with those guys.
Did I ever tell you about how I pissed off Peter Stastny?
That what kind of 3-4 times a week, or give me one example, Stan.
I was assigned to do an interview with him for a magazine, and it was a big deal in terms of getting him photographed in a very elaborate situation. And they were playing at Nassau, playing against the Islanders. It was a day before the game, and we did it in the interview in a hotel. It was right across from the Coliseum, and everything was set up. I mean, it was a big deal. Bruce Bennett, the great photographer, was doing it, and we're into the interview. Was a great talker, very thoughtful guy, And I'd say about 15 minutes into the interview, I said to him, I said, Peter, how does it feel to be one of the greatest Czech hockey players of all time? Stop, he says, stop. I didn't know what the hell he's stopping me for. I mean, I asked him a simple question. How does it feel to be one of the greatest Czech hockey players? He said, stop. Don't you ever call me Czech. I am from Slovakia. You get that straight? Slovakia, not Czech, Slovakia. And then
I can just see that when you said, the question you asked, but all kidding aside, Peter Stastny has meant so much for generations of players growing up there because he was the first one and his brothers coming over. No, no, after Nedomansky, but the success he had, it was incredible. And then, I played against him, and then I actually ended up playing with him in New Jersey and getting to know him. So I cannot say enough about Peter. And again, the Czech, Slovak, Czechoslovakia or not, he was one of us, or we feel like he was one of us, and he was a great, great role model and inspiration, because he didn't have it easy and he pushed through. So for us, it was like, we can too. So yeah, Peter Stastny, great, great man and great player.
I don't think most people realize how great Peter Stastny was. In the decade of the 80s, he had the most points of anybody, save Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, he was an amazing player, complete player. Like no weaknesses. His backhand was amazing. His backhand
Mhm.
shot. Forget the backhand passing, but just the we were very proud to be able to say we came from the same part of, obviously not the same country in Peter's mind or a lot of people's mind, but it was the same country. So we were very, very proud of being part of that community and be able to come here and carry the standard, after guys like Václav Nedomansky or Peter Stastny. It's a tremendous honor. I actually saw Václav Nedomansky a couple of years ago. I went out of my way to go see him in California where he lives because he meant so much to us, to our generation of players.
Bobby, how did you personally deal with pressure during playoff runs?
I guess it's pressure. What pressure? Pressure comes from within. Okay, the pressure that matters, the only pressure that matters, come from within you because you take pride in what you do. You want to do the best you can, and that's how you get to that point. That's how you become one of the players that the team relies on. That's how you become a leader because all your life, all your hockey life, all you do is try to be the best you can be that day, and it becomes such a habit that whether it's preseason, I always say whether it's preseason, whether it's morning skate, whether it's a practice, or whether it's just Stanley Cup Finals, you approach it the same way. You can't just turn the switch on. Some players can because they're that talented, but very, very, very few. Most of them have to. The approach is the same. No matter what I do, I'll do it the best I can. So when the games get bigger, you kind of you thrive on it. You crave it. You wanna play the big games because it's what you've been trying to do to be the best you can be. And the only way to measure yourself is to play against the best and the challenge. And when people say, "Oh, the pressure has got to be, from the media or from," no, it's from within. It's a personal pride is what matters the most. If you don't have that, coach can pressure you, GM, fans, media, it doesn't matter. If you don't have a personal pride, if you don't take pride in what you do, there's no pressure.
did you have a special way to handle referees?
Yeah, very bad way. That was my specialty, and unfortunately, because I'm a little more mature and I'm not the player. I'm not a player anymore. I believe I've grown as a person, and realized I was in Alaska at one of Scott Gomez's fundraisers that he has every summer. They couple officials who were there from I think they had like a clinic for the local hockey for youth officials, and I was talking to them. I had to apologize because I didn't realize how unreasonably bad I was towards them most of the time. But that was just part of I played with such an edge that I almost didn't care that they were officials. That and so yeah, I had a very special way, Stan, and I must admit it, it was a bad way.
Bobby, from a player's perspective, what makes a coach easy to play for?
Um, it's if the coach tells you what he wants from you, like what your role is. If he helps you define what your role on the team is, because then at the end of the day, at the end of the game, or the next morning, or at the end of the week, or at the end of the season, you know exactly whether you did your job or what the team needed you to do. So a lot of players, star players, don't have success on every team they play because they they think that no, they know what the team needs them to do. There's difference between what the players think and what the team needs the player to do. So um, it's again, coaching is such an important part of the game where the coach has to figure out who he has as a player or players, what kind of players they are, and then define roles for them. Don't let players figure it out because there's 20, 25 players. They're going to all have their own way, but there's one coach. So he's got to kind of he's like a conductor. He's got to bring it all together. All the pieces of I know it's a very cliche like thing, but all the instruments have to come together to make a nice sound. And that's what coach needs to do. But he needs to know the music himself. He can't be, the coach needs to know his players. He needs to know what instruments each player is best at and kind of there's a beautiful Czech word for it, fine tune it. It's not as beautiful as the Czech word, but this is an English podcast, so we're going to speak English. So to answer, to kind of recap that, it's up to the coach to figure out what the players are good at and let them know what the team needs from the players, not necessarily what the players think the team needs.
Did you know the famous Czech athlete who was a star in tennis and hockey, Yaroslav Drobny? Did you know about him?
Yes. And then to be honest with you, he was like one of the biggest stars in hockey and tennis, but there's a lot of hockey players who are very, very good at tennis. Yeah, tennis is kind of big there. I still play, and I think I'm pretty good. If I was a little lighter and younger, like I was way back then, I think I could still play really good. But I still have it in my hand. I can hit the ball really well. Running, and it's just a little harder nowadays.
Being an NHL player, like when you signed your free agent contract, how many people did you have to pay out of that? Like I know you have an agent, do you have a manager, financial
Oh no,
advisor? Like
I've been married for 35 years. What do I need those people for? Um,
Because
no,
just sorry, but the reason I ask
sure.
is
No.
I watched a documentary called Broke, and it was about a lot of NBA, NFL players who signed huge contracts, like $100 million contracts, and they end up with nothing because they
Oh yeah,
just
I can see
blow it
that.
up.
I know we had a deal with the agent that his role was to negotiate, be there for me as a hockey player and negotiate contracts. We didn't use any of accounting and taxes and nothing. It was just like hockey agent is for hockey. And of course, like everybody else, we have to pay taxes. So you have accountants and you have lawyers for other things. But that's the problem when you give a person or people too much of your own life to handle because you're too lazy or too I'm gonna hold myself back, not smart enough, then there's consequences. You got to put the effort in, and so again, our my agent was for hockey and hockey contracts. Then we had other people, but that's you have to stay on top of it. You can't just not necessarily that they are you can't trust, but you got to know what's happening.
So
And then
what percentage of your contract would go to other people, and how much would you actually get to keep?
oh, the biggest percentage always went to the government. You know, they like to collect their taxes really really well. That they do a good job. So no, I kept. I mean, after taxes, you only have you negotiate a fee with the agent, and that's it. And we didn't have We didn't have people on payroll because they get too comfortable. You can't do that. You gotta, like everybody else. I mean, maybe not. We were trying to live our life as normally as we could in a kind of a very, very abnormal with my occupation, sort of not being typical. So we we can my wife and I can do our taxes, but we can sure communicate with our accountant and see what he's doing instead of just say, hey, here, there you go. I think that's a good point you're making, Jerry, because a lot of young players are like, oh, I'm making all this money. If I just let somebody else handle it, my life is going to be easier. Well, it might be for now, but not when at the end of 10, 15 years when everybody else is rich off your money and you have nothing left, which happens maybe not that often, but often enough. So I recommend to young players to separate hockey agent from your taxes and your lawyer from your hockey contract. Just kind of separate it so everybody's just doing what they're good at, just like the players. We're doing what we're good at. We're not gonna be interfering, but stay on top of it. It's effort, it's work, but hey, you only get a one shot at it. You might as well take it.
How
Bob,
did you how did you and your wife handle the a season? Did she get into the game at all? I mean, really get emotional? Did she?
No, no. I mean, it was wonderful. It started way when I grew up. My dad was a legendary player, and when he came home, he was the dad, he was the husband. I mean, it's just like, when he wasn't playing, he was a man, and I looked at it the same way. When I came home from the rink, uh, I was the husband, and then eventually father, and then a friend, and whatever. And it's important to me. It was very important to have a life outside of hockey, and it still is. And yeah, and my wife was amazing in supporting me, but not, so she first of all, when we first when we were young, she was doing her own education, her schooling, and eventually when we had family, family comes first, so we didn't necessarily uh, expect her to go to all the games, so she was kind of more picking her spots because when you have a young family, it's a lot of work, as we all know. So the focus was on keeping the family life as normal as it can be while I'm playing professional hockey and traveling all over the continent and all that. So we I believe that we've done a really good job living normal, quote unquote, normal life under the circumstances, and that's very important to us.
Bobby, when you look back now, what part of your career are you most proud of? Not the stats, but mindset.
Um, I think it could be that it's not necessarily part of my career, but what people, when they saw me, they knew that I'm gonna give my best. There was It was important to me, and then it kind of, speaking of identity, I believe that was my identity, that this guy comes to work, and it could be optional practice or training camp, preseason, playoffs, regular, 54th game of the regular season. This guy comes to work, and I always say I have to explain that to young people. It's not always you're not always going to be a number one star of the game, but you still bring your best that day. And we all have great days. We don't have such a great day. So the consistency of effort is the most important thing, and I think I accomplished that because people tell me to this day that they when they watch me play, they understood that I was giving my best, and that's all you can do, really.
Looking at the game today, if you had to make any change in any way the game is played, like larger rinks, for example, something, or anything to make it different, or eliminating the shootout, what would you like to see changed?
When you talk about larger rings, speaking of Mark Everson, I talked to Mark Everson. This is probably late '90s when there was speculation, how to improve the game, and they were talking about some people. So I think Mark was doing or somebody, I don't know. I think it was Mark. And I said to him, I would make as the players get bigger and faster, I would make the ring not Olympic size, but just 2 feet. Give the players 2 feet on each side of the ring. Not any longer, nothing, just 2 feet. Because right now, let's say I'm looking at cycling, okay? The team is cycling in offensive zone. You give a great player extra 2 feet, they'll get away from the defenseman. The average players will be average no matter what. But I was looking to give the really good ones, the great ones, opportunity to be really great instead of just kind of make it's fair for everyone, but the talent and speed will be displayed a lot more if they have forget 2 feet, 18 inches on each side of the rink, right? Meaning 3 feet total. 4 feet would be probably better. But you look at the defenseman who's I played with Yaron Yager. I played against him. I played against him a lot when he played for Pittsburgh or Washington. So I'm looking at this. Yager goes to the corner and he's got extra 2 feet. I better be really on top of my game, or he's gonna make me look foolish. And that's what I'm looking for the great players to be able to display their greatness. Unlike what they did with the trapezoids, where Marty Brodeur was so the best goalie ever to play the puck, so they minimized his skills. They basically put a trapezoid in. He's like, "You're too good. We're gonna limit your skills and your lifelong effort to be great." So I'm of the opposite thoughts of saying, if you're great, let's give you opportunity to show your greatness.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree with you about the trapezoid. I hate that. I absolutely hate it. I mean, if your goalie's adept at playing the puck, I mean, that gives your team a bit of an advantage. I mean, so be it. I mean, it
Yeah.
puts the onus on the team to get a goalie who's good at playing the puck. So,
Or or if you're, let's say a forechecking team that dumps it to puck, you got to change your game.
yeah.
We all
Mhm.
competing. Marty became great at it because he wasn't wanting to be the best puck handler that ever, as a goaltending puck handler, that ever played a game, and he accomplished that. So the league, I know, who decided to say, you know what, we don't
Mhm.
like this. He's too good at it. Well, let's limit
Yeah.
his skills. So to me, I'm like, give the players, give the great players. As I said, the third and fourth liners will not really benefit from extra 2 feet of ice or 3 feet of ice, but the top players will. You know,
Mhm.
Martin Nechas, I was just in Florida watching the Colorado play, that kind of player, or Pasternak, or anybody who's the top player in the league now, they would really, really shine with not much, just a little extra room.
Your opposition player in your career did you hate the most?
Um, I didn't. Well, I did dislike one of really, really. I'm not going to name it because it's not fair. It's too far. But I enjoyed difficulty. I enjoyed challenges. But one of them really stands out. And maybe on the next podcast we can go into it in more detail why I have those thoughts or feelings about the player. But other than that, harder it was, more fun it was.
One of my friends said, "Oh my God, Bobby Holik was a Maple Leafs destroyer."
I loved playing the Leafs. I really did. And having said that, I think they don't give Matt Sundin enough credit in Toronto for basically carrying the team for a decade. I always liked it didn't look like it on the ice, but I liked and respected Matt Sundin as a player tremendously.
What does a team need to have when things start going sideways?
It's that personal pride, I think. Some players, not all, it could be one or two, they don't care as much as they should, which happened to us at one time in the playoffs, and I think that's why we didn't win the cup that year. And yeah, that's all it takes. It's all it takes. Of course, in the middle of the season, you can get over those things, but in the playoffs, in that 2 months tournament, when you have one or two players who just don't give their best on any given day, it really catches up with you sooner. Sometimes later, sometimes sooner, but it does happen. So It's that willingness of each player. If you want to win championships, every player has to be willing to give his best every single day for that. It's a long year, it's a long season, but it's all worth it.
Mhm. In one of our email discussions, I mentioned to you that I played a game in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I was 40 years old at the time, and my lungs hurt after the game. That they absolutely hurt. I'm wondering, going into Colorado, did you guys make special preparations, knowing that the air was so thin and that it was going to take an adjustment?
So we didn't make special preparation, but we emphasized shorter shifts. Like if you stayed within the 35, 40 seconds, you could do your thing, you could play your game, come back on the bench and recover. The moment you stay 50, 55 a minute, you're not going to recover for the next shift. You know, you get off the bench, you get off the ice, and then somebody else goes on the ice, somebody else, and it's your turn again. You have to keep the shifts short consistently, and you can keep your intensity, your speed, and everything going throughout the game. But sometimes you get in trouble. Sometimes you make bad decisions, and you get stuck out there. So that's when it gets hard. But you can get away with playing just a little smarter game.
Mm.
Even
Now,
though say you come in from Florida or sea level to Colorado for a game.
but your goalies didn't have that option, so I'm kind of wondering how
Here we go. You know what?
did
We might have to start a new podcast just for the goalies.
Who was the toughest goalie you ever faced?
Luckily, I played in front of Marty for all those years, so that was good. But I really enjoyed the challenge he gave me, or gave us in practice, because he all he wanted to do is stop the puck. You know, people like, what's the secret? I said he had a pride in stopping every single puck. Of course, he didn't stop them all, but he stopped most of them. And he was the same way in practice. You cannot turn on Marty Brodeur just because the game starts. That's the way he practiced. That's the way he warmed up. And so I did play a lot more against Hasek and Roy, Patrick Waugh. Those two are obviously, but yeah, we Dominic, I played with as well in Czechoslovakia or national team. I played on the club team for a year with him. But I think Patrick Roy, whatever you want to say it, he gave me the biggest challenge, including the Game 6 2001 Cup Finals, where we lost that game and we lost the finals. And there were some chances in the first period of Game 6 that we could have had it or myself, but he stonewalled us. So Patrick Roy really stands out to me.
You got jobbed in the Game 6. You could have won the cup. And Scotty Gomez scored a goal right at the beginning, and they had that cockamamie rule with the this or that in the crease, and they stole that goal for you. That was a game that was decided by one ridiculous goal. I'll never forgive whoever invented that stupid thing. But I just want to ask you one more question because we're going to wrap up pretty soon. Make believe you're a reporter, and I'm the player, or I'm. But what question would you ask me as a reporter?
Was it your best effort? And that's the question I would ask you. Was that your say your team loses, or you like Game 6 of the what is it 2001 finals? You know, the first period we lost. Eventually, I don't know what it was score was, but I think we were shut out that game. And one of their like, was that your best effort? And at the time, I know that's a good way to finish, because in that finals, my last Game 5 was great. Game 6 and 7, I really ran out of gas, because we played in the finals the year before, and I played a really physically demanding game and all that. And Larry sort of called me out on it, and I have to agree with him that I ran out. I played, I did my best by far. I no doubt I gave my best, but I just didn't. I was not the player that I was in Game 5 and previously. So part of that I'm part of reasons why we didn't win the cup. Not because I didn't care for a moment or two, but I just ran out of gas. So that's why I would ask you, if I was the media or reporter and you were the player, what where I'm sorry, that's why I'm not the reporter. That's why I'm a player. Uh, was that your best effort? And if they said yes, what else went wrong? But if they said no, then we know why they lost.
Maeve, do you have a joke for us to close?
Yeah, this is a New York joke. It's a New York joke. And if you don't get it, you'll get it anyhow. This guy's walking along Fifth Avenue between 49th and 50th Street with two live penguins. One live penguin on the right side, the other live penguin on the left side. He walks right in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral, famous cathedral in New York. And a cop goes over to the guy and he says, "What the hell are you doing here?" The guy says, "What do you mean?" He said, "What are you doing here walking two penguins, two live penguins in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral? You crazy?" The guy said, what do you want me to do?" He said, "Well, if you don't want me to give you a ticket, it'll cost you about $50. You got to take those penguins right now to the Bronx Zoo. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a summons and it costs you a lot of money. So take those penguins to the Bronx Zoo." So the guy hails a cab and he gets into the cab with his two live penguins and takes them to the Bronx Zoo. Next day, the cop's walking in front of St. Patrick's again, and he sees a car pulling up at a red light, and he looks into the car, and there's a guy from yesterday, and the two penguins are sitting in the back seat of the car, only this time the penguins are wearing sunglasses. So the cop goes over to the guy. He says, "What the hell's the matter with you? I thought I told you to take those penguins to the Bronx Zoo." The guy says, "I did, and they loved it. Now we're going to Coney Island."
You don't have to be New Yorker to get that.
What?
You don't have to be good a New Yorker to get that. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one last question for Elena. Why are you not wearing your Maple Leafs jersey today?
Hey, are you wearing your Vancouver Canucks?
Yes, I am.
With pride.
Yes. It's a race to the bottom.
Yes.
It has to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bobby, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for coming back and doing this with us. Big thanks as always to Stan and Jerry and to everyone listening and watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to Bottle Rocket wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on socials and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. You guys be well.